Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today I've had a request from one of our customers on how we would create this type of furniture on the screen now, some sort of metal extrusion system. So the best way to do this is to go into plan view from above. So we'll type plan, current, polyline, enter 0, 0, 0, 25 by 50, by 25 by 50 by 25, and then close. And then in here I can use the fillet command with a radius of 3 on the polyline to then radius that off. If we then go to this tool here, the contour wizard, I can say this is a cross-section geometry and give it a name. This is going to be called metal 50 by 25 mil underscore square hollow section, and I'll copy that name for later. Click it and right click to confirm, and it will bring it into imos. Once here, I can then click apply and go to the data. So I'll go to element manager and I want to find my parts, SPPs. So I will save over standard with the same name and then use the color principle in here, color HL, which is a standard variable. I'll use cross-section geometry, the one I've just created, and then set up the sizes, 50 by 25. Reference point is 25 by 0. And then in here the wall thickness is 2 mil. Once set, I can then go to the part definitions and I'll make 2 part definitions. I'll find standard and save over this one with the name side panel underscore the same name. And then in here, what I want to do is go to my multi-part editor. Your button will be different. We'll go to the multi-part element and say reference points, and I now have a reference point of 0 to 1 to 0 in X, so here to here, and then 1 to 1, which is halfway up. I can then go to the multi-parts and say that I want a new stretchable purchase part between point 1 and point 2, and it will be this name. I'll click tick. So I now have my side panel or my upright piece. The next thing I want to do is call one as a fixed shelf and save. And then what I want to do is go in and edit this and then go to my reference points, create new reference points at 0 to 1 to 0 and 0 to 1 to 0, and then click tick. I can then go to my parts and say that I want a new part between these points, and this will be an adjustable shelf. So I'll just come into my part definition library and choose the adjustable shelf from the list. I want one that's edged all the way around because this is going to be visible everywhere, so I need to find one here that has edging tape on all 4 edges, and I can click apply. I'll go back to my stretchable purchase part and give this a offset of -25 in here, so that now when I look at the preview, it looks like the metal is sat below the actual shelf, which is good. And then in here on my reference points, let's add some more in. So I'll say new linear division. This time I want the division in X to be 50 mil to 1 to 50 mil, and then 1 to 100 mil to 1. This will now give me my new 4 points, and I can go back to the parts and say that I want a new SPP that's going to go from point 1 to 2. Tick, but in this case I want it to be an LED strip at 0, and then I want a new part again to go from here to here, and then 2 more new parts again to go from here to here, 1 to 2, but this time I want it to be the diffusing lens. So these are all standard parts in here. So now when I look at my preview, I actually have a shelf with LEDs set to the underside. I can then say OK on this and save. go to my parts and choose that this is a fixed shelf, and in here you can see I've now got my fixed shelf part set up. Click save. Just want to make sure that I've got my piece underneath. I'm missing my original section in here. There we go. And I'll click OK and save. Oh, I do need to set that down, don't I think? So let's move the part down. Yeah, that's better. Save. And then I want my side panel. And I have my side panel in here as well. So let's go to the side panel and choose this as my side panel. And now I can combine all of these into Article Designer. So if I go to the Design tab, go to Article Designer, and I can then pull this product in. So the next thing I'll do is make this a little bit taller. So let's say that the overall height is 2.2 meters, the width is 700, and the depth is 300 mil. Then I can add in a side panel, and again I just want to choose the one that I've already created in here, which is my side panel, and I want to copy that from one side to the next and paste. And then it looks like it's brought nothing in, but that's because it can't see the construction. If I used a new show construction button, that will then show the sizes, and it will show that the square hollow section has now been brought in for the left and the right. I can then come into here and use virtual divisions to divide the zones up. So what I'm going to do is say that I want a virtual division of 150 millimeters to 300 millimeters to 1 to 2 to 1 to 2 to 1, and that will now bring in different zones. And what I'm able to do now is put different things into these different zones. So in my first zone, what I want to do is click in here. I can go in and choose the parts. So I'm going to choose that this is a top that is onset and edged all the way around. I want a bottom that is edged all the way around as well, that is onset, and I want two side panels. And if I come in here, you can see that's now brought through that box. And in here, I want to change that bottom to now be one that's going to have those supports in there as well, that metal support. So I'll just go back into the bottom shelf and call this metal. Come into my part definition, call this metal. Add in a new reference point. So 0 to 1 to 0 and 1 to 1. Go to my part, new SPP, choose the square hollow section at -25, tick OK, and then I can save and apply this. So now I can add into this zone in here a standard adjustable shelf halfway up, and I can then also add in things like doors. So I'm going to say that I want a door there, which I'm going to change to be double door inset with a handle at the top. And then I'll have a back panel. And again, I can bring this in and change to be my preferred back panel. So I've now got a full box. We'll change the fittings in a second, and then what I can also do is bring through those vertical pieces and then change my linear division if I need to. So for example, I might want that box to be a little bit bigger. And then in the other zones in here, what I can do is say that I want a fixed shelf. and then choose my fixed shelf, which has the metal top and bottom. And I can then move this around wherever I want it to be in that zone. So I could say, for example, I want that to go all the way up to the top of that zone, and then put it into each of the other zones. So I'll come into here and copy that and paste. And then I just need to paste it into all of the other ones. So into this zone in here now, I've got all of my parts, and you can see I've got my metals supporting it as the brace running all the way through. The next thing I want to do is just confirm my choice, go to my variables and choose how I want this to be made. So I'll say that this should use maybe a different type of material. In this case, I'll go with a nice gloss olive. In here, I want the same material for my fronts. And then for my connectors, I'll say that this should be dowel only. And then in here for my handles, I want these to be a small style handle. I can come down and choose that I want the material to be gloss black for my metalwork. And now you can see my design has become slightly different. The next thing that I want to do is create some information, and if I need to, I can copy these along now. So maybe I want to put two next to each other. And now all I want to do is move these about. So if I say move article and then press M for move, I can move that with a distance of 25. And then they'd be on top of each other. So that would be then using the same piece of metal if need be. So this looks good. I can now go to output, create a scene, and then in here, render this out. So I'll go to my presentation tab, set this to medium quality, and turn on my exposure. And let's do a quick test render. Okay. So it takes about 6 seconds and we get a decent render in here. We can bump up the quality. So we've got the lighting coming through from our LEDs, we've got our gloss metal work and our olive material on here. So obviously this will render out and we can spend a bit more time improving these quality of these renders if need be. But I also want to produce some drawings. So let's just let this finish and then we'll move on to some drawings. Okay, so about 2 minutes, and this is looking pretty good. So let's just stop this render and save it. So we can then click on the save disk. We'll just save this on the desktop. Let's create a quick drawing. So we'll turn the lighting off. We'll close the scene. Go to the drawing views tab and tell it to automatically create a drawing. Go into a wireframe view and you can see it's created the drawing in here now. I'll just move my CAD blocks down. And then the next thing that I want to do is create an elevation. Okay. So we can see inside the cupboard there, I just need to shut those doors and let's create a section right through the middle of this product. And this will now show our weldment. There we go. So I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions, please let us know.